there everyone, Watermelon here. Today we're going to go over 3 starter decks that you can upgrade to be amazing beginner decks without adding anything more than a rare. First off is the Spells and Stealth starter deck that we're going to upgrade to a Jinx discard with Targon in this instance. Now this is probably the cheapest deck out of everything because I do not believe there is much more than a rare or so to craft. The other decks do have a few more rares. This one not so much. It's a lot of common and uncommon from what you already have. But some of the new additions will be Pearl Cannon for sure, which will help with your endgame of wanting to level up your Jinx in order to get her spell. You also do get these cute little pearls that are elusive, and let me say, those little 1-pinks, they add up. We add another astute academic, and then we add the meatballs to our sub that is Jinx, which is Jury Rig and Flame Chomper. So these are just free discards. You could go and discard it with the Urchin. You could go and discard with the Rummage. These are amazing cards that you do want to discard for free, and then you get value out of them, which is great. So in general, you're not going to want to play them by themselves, but rather have them as discard fuel. But of course, if you do need a Chump Blocker, for example, then you will have to go and play the Jury Rig, which also is burst, so you can play it anytime, which is some great value. We do have, of course, Solari Soldier. You could potentially put in Spacey Sketcher instead for some more longevity in your early game. I just personally really like just like a free 3/3, at least for only 1 turn, but that is up to you. Boom Kararuki is going to be in any Jinx deck most likely that you're going to run in the near future, giving 2 free damage to the Nexus even if it doesn't hit the face. Another Targon addition is going to be Lunari Shadestalker, which you're going to use for many decks, including this one, simply because it is a free elusive so long as you have Nightfall, meaning that you play a card before it in the round. Then we have the girl Jinx. Ideally with the upgraded version of this upgrade, you will go and get a 3rd Jinx just to make it more synergetic and more reliable to get this Jinx endgame that you want to have with your upgraded Jinx, which is round start, draw 1, and this is activated when you empty your hand. And then when this is here, if you empty your hand again, you get a Super Mega Death Rocket, which is super fun, deals 4 to the enemy Nexus and 1 to all enemies. This is another card that you could potentially have more of. I only ever run it as a 1 or 2 of, just so it doesn't get too clunky personally, with Augmented Experimenter, simply because it does cost more, but being able to draw that much, especially if you're late game and you're out of cards, is very good. Cascade, again, it's a really good card, and it really helps out with Targon's expansion into here within the deck. So this is a pretty darn cheap deck. It's really fun, and Jinx is a chaotic mess. Next up is the Death and Spiders upgrade. So we're taking out Darius and focusing on the 2 Elise that we have to make the most out of her. So this is a very spidery deck, very spooky. I actually have an even more upgraded version of this with the Fearsome Aggro down below that I have linked if you have enough for this. But basically we're focusing on a lot of this early game. It's a very aggressive deck in here with all the spiders such as Precious Pet, Horror, Elise, House Spider, and then of course the MVP, Frenzied Skitterer. Now there's this amazing combo where you have a upgraded Elise, so you have a round start 3 or more spiders, and so you have the upgraded Elise. All of your spiders have Challenger, all of them have Fearsome, and then you Skitterer, so you give all your spiders +1 in addition to your opponent getting -1 on their enemies. So a lot of them can't even block, and even if you can, you're able to challenge the ones so they don't get the good trades that they want. They just get their 10-10 hit by your 1-1, and your giant spider gets a hit right to their face. So that is one of my favorite combos to do. Again, link down below. We also added some more Decimates, which is just such a great card in any aggressive deck. It's 4 to the noggin. And 1 Captain Farron, this is in the initial deck, though it is definitely a more expensive as it is an epic. But I find it really fun. If you want to have a more lasting game, I was just perhaps substituting some of this early game, such as perhaps the Imperial Demolitionist or maybe the 2 Darius that you do start out with. But I usually like to play this in a very early game aggressive manner. As far as other longevity, we do have Unspeakable Horrors, which could get you a Nightfall card as well as a Drain for 1, which is also very helpful on just sustaining health as well as just sort of poking your opponent on the face. I cannot tell you how many times I've actually just won games from an Unspeakable Horror to the face, or depending on the situation, you may want to use it to your opponent. So this deck is definitely right up my speed. You don't have to even really change too much of it for it to be an optimized version of this. So this is one of the best starter decks, even without the changes. Even without the changes that I've made, without using anything more than a rare, this is just a really great deck. Last but not least is the buff and tough upgrade with Demacia Elite. I did a video on this exact list, except I had one more Garen down below, which I will link. But I also think that this deck is really great with learning some of the keywords and how cards interact with turn order in the game. So I think that for learning purposes, it's really good. There are definitely some more upgrades. There's a few different paths within Demacia that you can go with this, but I just started with a pure elites cheap deck. For example, later on, you probably are going to want to do a Cytherea the Bold, which is the 6/6 fearsome and is super great, as well as perhaps taking out some Lauren for some more expensive cards and seeing exactly how you want to go with using your Garens or not. Be sure to always read your cards. I know it can be overwhelming, especially as you're learning, but you can just meet your opponent if you're emoting it too much. You're learning, and I feel like it's just the best experience that you can have is know what your cards do, know what you're doing, and why you're doing certain things. And even if you lose, be they with this decks or not, you could ask yourself, well, could there have been another path I could have took to win? Like, why did I lose? Not just get mad over your opponent high rolling, which of course it happens and you gotta live with it, but you got this, and I hope I could do anything else. If you want any suggestions for anything you would like to learn in Runeterra or any particular decks, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to reading them, and I hope we'll see you tomorrow for more daily videos.